Good morning, children. So next topic I am starting, and this is the last topic of the gravitation chapter, that is Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Now the first law of Kepler, it states that all planets revolve around the sun not in a circular orbit, rather it is an elliptical orbit, and the sun is always situated not at the center of the orbit, it always situated at one of the focus of the orbit. So just try to understand it. If you consider that this is an ellipse, then you know ellipses are having, this is known as the semi-major axis and this is known as the semi-minor axis, and here there are two focus. There are actually two focus of an ellipse. So if you consider the orbit of a planet, it is not a circular orbit, rather it is an elliptical orbit. And where the sun is situated in one of the focus, either here or here. It never be situated at the center. So this is the first law of Kepler. You must learn Kepler has given us 3 laws of planetary motion. All the laws are important for your exam, so you must learn the statement of the exam, because you know you cannot change the statement as it is given by the scientist. You have to follow that. So you must learn all the 3 statements of the 3 laws, Kepler's laws of planetary motion. So this is the first law statement and meaning. Now second law states that the line joining any planet to the sun sweeps out equal area in equal interval of times. Means the aerial velocity of the planet remains constant. So what is the meaning? Let us try to find out. So let us consider that sun is here. This is the position of the sun. So you see, when the planet is far away from the sun, then suppose it is initially at the point A. So if you join the line, now let us consider in time delta t, the planet has come to the point B. So you see, if you consider this line, it has come to the point B, means it is sweeping out this area. Alright. It is sweeping out this area in time delta t. Now, suppose the planet has come near the sun. It has come to the point C. Then you see the line joining the sun and the planet, it is reduced. So, in the same time delta t, what will happen? It will move in such a manner that these two areas, just look at the diagram, the area of SCD should become equal to the area of SAB. Okay, this is the meaning of this. What is the meaning? That when the planet is away from the sun, then the speed of the planet is less. Is that clear? But when it is coming near the sun, then speed of the planet is becoming more. Is that clear? And so what is happening? It is traveling more distance in the same time. It is traveling CD, which is bigger, and it is traveling a distance AB in time t. So you see, when the planet is away from the sun, its speed is less, and when the planet is near the sun, its speed is more. Generally, means I just make it fun that when the planet come near the sun, then it feel very hot, so it just run away, means it move with higher speed. No, actually that is not the fact. Just a trick to remember the fact that this is the meaning of this sentence, that line joining any planet to the sun sweeps out equal area in equal interval of time. So here, as the length of the line is bigger, so the speed will be less. But when the planet is coming near the sun, as the length of the line joining the planet and the sun is less, so the area, it moves with the bigger speed, so that it can sweeps out equal area in equal interval of time. And that is another meaning of this second law. Now I am going to discuss that. So you see, if you consider, if you apply the second law here, let us consider that the planet was initially at the point A, then and SA, this is given by the position vector R. Then the planet has come to B, and here we are considering the displacement is delta R. Then you see the vector SB, you can write it as R plus del R. So according to our concept of the vector, in the vector chapter we have learned that how you can represent the area of a triangle. Area of a triangle can be represented as half of the cross product of the vector representing the two adjacent sides. So you see SA and AB are the two adjacent sides. They are represented by R and delta R. So what will be the area vector? Means it is the area SAB half into R cross delta R. And what is the direction? You know that a direction of area vector is always perpendicular to the plane. That's why if you consider that this is the orbit is on the plane of the whiteboard, then area vector is perpendicular to it. Okay. So this is the direction of the area vector. So if you divide the area vector by the time, then this will represent the aerial velocity. So if you divide it by delta t, this side also you have to divide by delta t. So you can write it as del r by del t. Now del r by del t is what? Nothing but the linear velocity. So you are getting half into r cross v. Now you see in the next step what I have done, multiplied and divided by the mass of the planet. What is the small m? The mass of the planet. So you are getting 1 by 2m r cross mv. So what is mv? It is the linear momentum. So in place of mv you can write down linear momentum. Again you see you know that r cross p is nothing but p is the linear momentum and r is the position vector. So r cross p is nothing but the angular momentum j. So what you are getting, aerial velocity is angular momentum divided by 2m equal to constant. Now for a sun and planet system, alright, there is no external torque acting on the system. Is that clear? This is the mutual gravitational attraction due to which the planet is revolving around the sun. So no external torque is acting on the planet. So what will happen according to the conservation of angular momentum? You know that when there is no torque acting on a revolving system, then the angular momentum of the system remain constant. So in this case, as the angular momentum of the planet is constant, so you are getting that this is constant, j is constant, mass of the planet is constant, 2 is constant. So this entire term is constant. So you are getting del A by del T constant. That aerial velocity of a planet remain constant. So this is the proof of the second law. This derivation is the proof of the second law. We can prove it, the second law, Kepler's second law of planetary motion. You can prove from the concept of law of conservation of angular momentum. And this is also a very, very important topic for your exam. So you must learn the statement of the second law and you must also learn the proof of the second law. You see, in the proof of the second law, if you draw the diagram properly showing all the parameters and just write down these steps, then also you will get full marks. So please do prepare the second law statement and its proof. Now Kepler's third law states that the square of the time period of revolution of any planet is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of the planet from the sun. Means simply it is t square proportional to r cube, where r is the distance, mean distance of the planet from the sun. So here this proof already we have done it when I have discussed the orbital speed and time period of revolution. So once again I am just, if you consider that instead of an elliptical orbit, if you consider that this is the mean distance between the planet and the sun. Okay. Here is the planet. So let us consider this is the mass of the planet. So you can write down what is the gravitational force between the sun and the planet, gmm by r square, where r is the mean distance. Why it is called mean distance? Because instead of taking, actually the orbit is the orbital elliptical orbit, but we have not taken it as elliptical orbit. We have taken the mean distance of the planet from the sun and we have considered it as the circular orbit. And then if you apply the concept that gravitational force is equal to the centripetal force, then you are getting V0 is equal to under root gm divided by r, and once again t is equal to 2 pi r by v naught. So if you substitute, you are getting 2 pi r by under root gm divided by r. So you are getting, I have to rub it, So you see, you are getting T is equal to 2 pi r into under root r by under root gm. Here m is the mass of the sun. Remember, for satellite of earth, I told you this was the mass of the earth. But now earth revolving around the sun. So it is earth, mass of the sun. Always you have to take the mass of the object which is at the center of the revolution. Okay. So you see, if you square both the sides, you are getting 4 pi square r square. It is coming r and it is coming g into m. So you are getting t square is 4 pi square by gm into r cube. Now here once again I am reminding you what is this mass of sun, which is constant, g is constant, 4 pi square is constant. So you have got t square is some constant into r cube. So t square is proportional to r cube. So this is the proof of the third law of Kepler's law of planetary motion. So all the three laws and their proof. First law, there is nothing to prove. The second and third law, the proof of the second and third law and statement of the third law. And second law, you must learn and prepare for your exam. These are the important point from this, theoretically important point from this chapter. So that's the end of the gravitation chapter. Thank you, girls.